tourism is an economic industry in several countries around the world, a source of entertainment for people of different cultures, an industry of income that revolves around showcasing and displaying a country's culture and attractions. These would include sacred sites. Sacred sites such as in Jerusalem, sacred sites such as Uluru and Kota Kinabalu. Any site or place that is valued by the locals, bringing culture and identity to the people. Tourism on its own as a concept is acceptable, but there has to be a line where we look at the disadvantages that tourism gives us in sacred sites and we say no to these disadvantages and therefore we ban tourism. This brings me to the case line for site government on how we view the topic, which is this House would ban tourism at sites considered sacred by the locals to safeguard the sanctity and value of the sacred sites and minimize the risks and dangers that tourism itself poses. So the first argument from site government is financial inefficiency. So these sacred sites are usually typically old. Some are centuries old. So these aging sites are fragile and are vulnerable to disturbances. Flashlights and bright lights from cameras and smartphones can damage tapestries and such and the like, because they have the lights will damage the integrity of the centuries-old tapestries that have throughout the ages have become very brittle and very vulnerable. So large densities of crowds of tourists can break several things around a temple, let's say, or a mosque. Any sacred site that has very fragile objects. So these very crowds can alter the landscape of monuments. They alter the natural landscape. And for example, tourists going through Uluru in Australia will degrade and corrode the integrity of Uluru. Uluru is a mountain which changes color based on the time of day. So you can see how this desecrates the sanctity of this site. The site that is valuable to the locals themselves, the Australians, the Aboriginals. So such risks and vulnerabilities will worsen when we allow tourism at such sacred sites. So they increase the impact it could have to these sacred sites that these locals care about. This damage is detrimental to the point that the sacred sites would have permanent, irreversible damage. That the sacred site that will tarnish the original message and the original value, the identity and the symbolism that the locals have. This is one of the essential problems of bringing in tourists into sacred sites. If the locals are only able to do so much in order to safeguard the sanctity, in order to protect these sacred sites from damage. And collateral damage is something unnecessary that comes with increasing the number of individuals that visit sacred sites, i.e. tourism. So tourism is an industry that promotes entertainment and requires investment to work. That's why they have Legoland and Hello Kitty Land and such places. They have resources poured into these kinds of sites. And yet, we want to point at sacred sites and invest resources into sacred sites instead of making man-made tourist sites which have a reliable source of income, which is also a common problem with sacred sites. Why would you want to have tourism at these sacred sites when we can't even determine if these tourists are interested, if these tourists will pour their money into investing into going into these sacred sites in the first place? Even if I give you the argument that they will be going there, the detrimental effects, as I mentioned before, the damage they will cause from the sheer numbers itself is too great to allow tourism at these sacred sites. These sacred sites have value, they have identity, they are appreciated by the locals, and yet we allow tourism in such sacred sites. It is counterproductive to what tourism truly is, which is entertainment, is to enjoy. But when we talk about sacred sites, it's not about entertainment. It's not about to enjoy. It's about to appreciate, to see the value. To see the value. And the only people who can see the value and appreciate these sacred sites themselves are the locals, such as Bahru. Yes, sir.
After the question, I think for sacred sites, we have to be the local. But for me, I can appreciate foreign countries that are religious sites like Uluru or Angkor or Borobudur. Even though I am not Buddhist, I can still appreciate them when I learn history.
Thank you, sir. I know that all of us can appreciate these sacred sites, but what I mean is that we can appreciate these sacred sites not by going to them. We can, tourism is a physical activity that requires us to go to the sites and also requires us to do activities at the sites. If we talk about tourism and sacred sites, if we talk about tourism in general, there has to be alterations, there has to be differences to attract these tourists in the first place. Yes, you can appreciate, some people can appreciate, but not all people will appreciate. That is another problem as well. If not all the tourists will appreciate sacred sites, it is therefore an unreliable source of income. It is an unreliable investment for any form of government or local organization to invest in. They will not be able to see the returns that you would normally be able to see if you invest in Legoland. You can definitely make Legoland a reliable source of income, a reliable place where tourists can go to enjoy. Yes.
However, in Japan, specifically Geometric Shrine in Kyoto, it actually encourages for tourists to drink the water from the Ottawa waterfall in different portions. For the first drink, you get a welcoming light. For the second one, you get peace and tranquility. And for the third drink, it provides a good luck in finding love. So it can become attractive, also contributing to the economy and providing income. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. So, talking about the waterfall in the Kyoto Shrine. So as I said before, I mentioned this before, to make these Kyoto shrines, you cannot just put out your attraction. You cannot just market this attraction and these sacred sites as a place for tourism willy-nilly. You need to have some form of marketing. You need to have some form of alteration in the first place at these sacred sites to make them interesting, to make them something that the tourists will want to go to. And for one thing, the sacred sites are not what tourists usually go to. Tourists go to Legoland, tourists go to Hello Kitty Land. Tourists are there for entertainment.
Right.
The definition of tourism itself, the definition of tourism itself revolves around entertainment. It revolves around income. So even if your well and waterfall at this Kyoto Shrine has this welfare water, this miracle water that will be able to attract tourists, it is a very niche attraction. It is not for everyone. It is unreliable. Let me bring it back to the case study. It is unreliable. It is financially inefficient because it is unreliable. Because they believe that these tourists will come to these sacred sites. Even though the only purpose of these sacred sites is the value and the identity and the symbolism of the locals in the first place. So it is unreliable. What is reliable? Legoland. Let me go back to Legoland. Okay. So moving on to my further elaboration, it is not a clear-cut opportunity cost analysis when we look at the motion today. That is why this house would ban tourism at sites considered sacred by the locals. To safeguard the sanctity and the value of the sacred sites and minimize the risks tourism poses. Tourism isn't a perfect industry. Reviewing what it can do and its disadvantages in this specific situation means that banning it will bring more good than harm. So with that, I thank you.
Okay, opponent, thank you. The distinguished member of the respectable House of Parliament. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to share with you the definition of today's motion, which we strongly believe to be the crux of today's debate. Our entire bench here is absolutely no stone unturned and no doubt at all as the validity of today's motion. This House will ban tourism at sites considered by locals. The Oxford Dictionary defines ban as officially or legally prohibiting something. Tourism is the commercialized organization and operation of holidays and also visits to places of interest. Consider sites in an area of ground on which a town, monument, or building is constructed. Considered means believed to be. Sacred means religious rather than secular. Finally, locals is defined as inhabitant of a particular area or neighborhood. Ladies and gentlemen, a long time ago, this motion to reveal is true. However, nowadays, we, the opposition, are skeptical about its effectiveness. As the opposition, we believe the opposite. Thus, our stand is that tourists should not. Yes, sir?
We have defined sacred as something that is religious but not secular. But don't you think that by allowing tourism and due to overcrowding, you lose that sense of spirituality which makes that place secular? Please clarify.
Let me take an example of Makkah or Kaaba in Makkah. There's so many people going to Kaaba, yet it still has religious properties. It does not lose its sanctity. Yes, sir?
Mecca, like the Kaaba in Mecca, people go there not for tourism, people go there for pilgrimage. Please get that right. It's not yet relevant to this notion.
However, according to the statistic by the Arabian government, they actually allow certain tourists to go there under certain guidelines. Now let me continue my point. Deny. Ladies and gentlemen, in plain simple English, tourists should have the freedom to visit any place they want, whether it is deemed sacred or not, but they should have rules to follow as to not offend the practitioner of the faith purposely. In today's case, our premise will be structures, buildings, and locations that is widely believed to have religious properties by the locals, whether they are practitioners of that religion or not. Ladies and gentlemen, the opposition modus operandi today will be to debate this issue on the basis that I, Muhammad Karim Bakamatin, the leader of the opposition team, will define the motion, divide the first speaker of the government, state our position, specify the task that will be carried out by my colleague here, and put forward one argument to support our stand. Then I will affirm our viewpoint. Next, our second speaker, Arvin Anbalagan, will refute the government stand, rebut the second and first speaker of the government, and finally put forth two arguments to once and for all convince all of you that our stand shines brighter. Later, our third speaker, Melvin Ng, has the task of rebutting the third, second, and first speaker respectively, and then resolving our position. Lastly, the final review and summation will be delivered by our second speaker. Ladies and gentlemen, now allow me to rebut the first speaker of the opposition. Dear first speaker, you said that if the objects in the sacred site are fragile. However, if you learn chemistry, the isotope of carbon-14 is used to preserve the artifacts and increase the density of the
Talking about chemistry, isotope carbon-14 isn't used to preserve artifacts or ancient structures, but in fact it is used for carbon dating, which is to estimate the age. It has nothing to do with preservation of ancient artifacts.
Thank you for that. I will elaborate on that further. Actually, if you heard about if you read the news about maybe in 2015, the researcher in Manchester University discovered that carbon-14 can be used for to indicate the density and fragile objects. Dear first speaker, you also said that it changed the natural landscape of the region site. But using your logic, isn't building houses also considered changing the natural landscape, providing residential area? You also said that it caused irreversible damage. However, that's why we should not ban it, since people will come and pay as a tourist attraction, and the income will increase, which will be used to repair the damage. Not every damage can be reversible. It's only a matter of how much money it costs. Finally, you said that it is unreliable for the income. But I want to ask you, do you have any facts, statistics, studies at all that support your stand? Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present our first argument. Tourists should have the access to visit places deemed sacred and give a positive impact on our economy. These places are usually tourist attractions, hence the place will be well taken care of to make it more attractive to the visitors, whether from a cleanliness angle or from the ambience of the site. To further my elaboration, allow me to ask all of you a question. what do you know about Egypt besides the Pyramid of Giza? Just imagine the losses in millions of government income as well as thousands upon thousands of jobs if we proceed with this motion. Furthermore, this will cause the pyramid to be in worse condition as it will not be a priority since it's not benefiting the government or the people economically. Income from the tourism industry will be used to fund the restoration and preservation of the structures denied. How can we do that if we ban access to this place? According to a statistic conducted in 2010 by the Egyptian government, almost 14 million tourists visit Egypt each year, providing nearly a $12.5 billion in revenue. Why do you think the Egyptian government put so much effort in restoring the remnants left by the ancient Egypt civilization? To conclude my point, I think it would be premature to act harshly and ban access to the sacred sites. I know that the concern that sacred sites will be not inspected by the tourists. This concern is reasonable. However, it can be solved by one simple solution, by following what other religious sites did, such as the Putrajaya Mosque. They provided a proper attire and guide for the tourists so they know the do's and don'ts of that religion. We should not punish a whole group based on the action of a few. Instead of taking action rashly, we should think of an alternate solution for this problem. Thus, by seeing the negative consequences if we proceed with the motion, I would like to inform that tourism should not be banned at sites considered sacred by locals. With that, I thank you.
A very good morning to everybody in the house today. Allow me, as Deputy Prime Minister, to further solidify my first speaker's point and give some rebuttals and arguments of my own. First of all, allow me to rebut all of the arguments that have been brought up by the opposition side. First and foremost, our dear opposition first speaker said that by allowing tourism in sacred sites, we are able to gain revenue for a country and to a country. Well, my rebuttal to that is, how can you be so sure that people are interested in sacred sites? Because, the original purpose of sacred sites were for religious activities and religious routines and rituals. The basis of tourism and a tourist itself is to seek pleasure and entertainment. Those are not what sacred sites can provide. Also, there are other ways of tourism, of gaining revenue, such as ecotourism. If we allow tourism in sacred sites, why would we spend our energy, spend our resources on sacred sites that might not even be beneficial to us? Because how can you be so sure people are interested in it? Also, allowing tourism in sacred sites this is prone to commercialization, which I'll be elaborating in my script later on. For my second rebuttal, the opposition first speaker said that non-locals can also appreciate sacred sites. Well, if we really wanted to appreciate sacred sites, we would leave it alone and give it some space. After all, the original purpose of sacred sites is for people to carry out religious activities, rituals, and routines, which I said before. I believe that anyone who is enthusiastic or even has some love for the sacred site will want to preserve it and keep it as it is, without damaging it or changing it anyway. Moving on to site government's second argument, we need to respect the cultures of the locals. This is why we need to ban tourism at these sites. We as foreigners, as tourists as well, need to know our place and know that we are stepping foot into someone else's house, and therefore we need to respect their regulations and their beliefs alike. This is the same reason as why we do not go into temples wearing shoes, as it is a sign of respect. If we are able to respect these rules, then we also need to respect the rules of these locals. If tourism at these sacred sites aren't banned, there will be tens of thousands of tourists here every day. Overcrowding these sites would be a sign of disrespect to the locals who consider these sites as sacred. Sacred sites shouldn't really allow entry to just anyone, and to allow such a huge number of people to enter these sites would be disrespectful and, if not, downright insulting to these locals. They are human and they have rights to deny entry to tourists, and if needed, ban tourism entirely to these sacred sites. The purest form of appreciation that we tourists can give to the locals is respect. By giving our utmost respect, we are granting space for their activities with their sacred site, and that is the best possible way that we can do it. Allow me to move on to site government's second point, that is, through tourism and sacred sites, it encourages commercialization more than encouraging people to understand the culture and history of the site. Organizers can gain financial resources without even needing to respect the culture, ergo, tarnishing and destroying the sanctity and purity of the sacred site, indirectly exploiting the site for their own selfish and self-centered needs and interests. Allow me to bring out something to clarify this. The organizers will alter the sacred sites to make them more attractive to tourists, so that they can haul in profits. Thus, the site sacred to the locals will no longer be sacred when you have thousands of tourists, thousands of people traveling over it every day, walking in, they're entering, they're exiting. They are making it secular and losing its original motive. As you can see, there are reasons as to why these places are considered sacred in the first place. They were made for religious activities and not for mere sightseeing or tourism. When you want something to be well known and famous for your own interests, you'll be willing to do anything, and I mean anything at all costs, just to reach in profits, to make it stand out and let more people know about it, so you can gain revenue. That's exactly in conjunction with the example that I brought up just now. You stray away from the original purpose of what sacred sites are all about, and instead you use it for entertainment and to boost your own financial interests at the cost of an age-old and priceless site. By this I mean the sacred sites. Indirectly, you are disrespecting and disregarding the site's sanctity by having these kind of activities happen. This goes against the general idea of the establishment of a sacred site, as tourism is always associated with either business or pleasure. If we allow tourism in sites considered sacred by the locals, we would go against our original idea of having fun on the trip, as we would be disrespecting the locals. And we will be also giving the organizers a chance to take control and let their selfish behavior come out. That will go my commercialization point. We will be giving the organizers a chance to exploit the sacred sites just for their financial benefits. Of course, we are not saying that this is the tourists' fault. In fact, we are talking about the fact that tourism should not even be allowed in the first place, but it is actually given the right to, is the key to the sophisticated love that is devotion today. This is undoubtedly and precisely why this House will ban tourism at sites considered sacred by locals. Thank you very much.
Very good morning to the Honourable Mr. Speaker, Sir, the Vice Educators, and fellow members of this August House. The motion moved by the government today is that this House believes tourism and sites considered sacred by locals should be banned. We, the opposition, should not leave any stones unturned to prove to you that today's nation simply cannot stand. The arguments forwarded by the government holds no water. Our first speaker has showed you that tourism and sacred sites will improve a country's economy. This is shown by our first speaker giving the example of Giza. With many support financially from the tourists, sacred sites could be maintained and preserved in a good shape, thus helping a culture to be maintained for our tourists' next generation. To better understand the motion and to clarify our stand, let me remind the House our stand. The word ban has to officially or legally prohibit something. Tourism is the commercial organization and operation of holidays and visits to places of interest. Sites is an area of ground on which a town, building or monument is constructed. Considered means believed to be. Sacred means religious, random, and secular. Finally, locals is defined as an inhabitant of a particular area or neighborhood. So, the whole debate literally means legally prohibiting places of interest where it is believed to be religious by inhabitants of an area. Where we beg to differ, to sum it up, our our stand is that tourists should not be prohibited from visiting a place just because it is considered sacred. The definition given by government is faulty. Before I proceed with my points, allow me to remark some points made by the government. The first speaker's point is simply rubbish. I have to admit that, because he said when we go tourists, we have to only go for entertainment, like go for Legoland or Kitty. But actually, tourism can also be mean by learning something new. Like we go to Angkor Wat, we can learn about the Buddhist culture there. Secondly, we can learn about historical facts. Like for those archaeologists who go to the sacred sites, they can discover something new, and so that people nowadays can learn something that is uncovered for many, many years. Yeah. The first speaker also stated that the tourists that goes to these sacred sites will damage anything that is available there. But do you know there's such thing called rules? Right. There is also such thing called tourist guides. If those people don't follow the rules, the tourist guides can actually find the people to find those who does not follow the rule. Yes, sir. Yeah.
So you said that rules and regulations will be there to prevent damage or to damage of the sacred sites. Well, sir, regulations are always there despite if you allow or you ban tourism as well. Because by banning tourism, we are giving more space for people. We are giving more space for people. By allowing tourism, you are giving more space for people to disrespect and destroy these sites. It increases the risk and increases the vulnerability of the sacred sites to be destroyed. By banning, we are completely ruling out that factor, that limiting factor that becomes a barrier. By allowing tourism and sites to be sacred by locals, you are increasing the risk and making sacred sites more vulnerable, prone to damage and wear and tear.
So basically, if those people don't follow the rules, the tourist guides can actually find those people with a large sum amount of money. Sir, you can't POI me when I'm answering your POI. Thank you, sir. Now, the second speaker also said that sacred sites is mainly for religious activities. Like I said earlier, we go to these sacred sites just to learn something new. That doesn't mean we have to go, tourists doesn't mean we need to go and just enjoy ourselves. Hello Kitty Land and or whatever Legoland you say, that can be done by us like every week or something, but when we go to sacred sites, it's like limited. There are less things sacred that we can learn about. Yes, sir?
I never said that you couldn't learn something new. You can learn something new in many different ways. It doesn't have to be that you go to these sacred sites in the form of tourism, and therefore increasing the risk and the dangers of these sacred sites to damage. It doesn't have to be that way. You can learn something new in many different ways. It doesn't have to be endangering the identity of the locals.
You said there are many ways to listen. Can learn about new things. Yes, we can learn from the internet. But do you know when we go to this sacred site, we can actually experience what is happening there, and we can see what is life at there. So that is why we can learn more things at there. Okay, now I'll go on to my point. That is, I've cleared the government's faulty points, and now allow me to present my first point. That is, sacred sites allow one to fulfill their spiritual needs. In this era where technology are improving and market price are rising beyond boundaries, we could see how much our friends and even family members are trying their best to keep up with the Joneses. Humans are forced in never-ending loop of competition where survival is only for those who have the best of things. This has caused a panic outbreak, and people are putting tension and stress on themselves. They are forced to compete for properties and personal belongings that could beat those their sites. To continue my chain of thoughts, this has proven without doubt humans have to relieve that undue pressure somewhere. That somewhere is, of course, temples or sacred sites for every different religion. Muslims will have to go mosques or even sacred sites to fulfill their prayer to God, such as in Arab, the city of Makkah. Yes, sir?
You just stated that tourism is a medium and a platform for these people to relieve stress at temples and sacred sites. That is not the way to protect the sanctity of sacred sites and the identity of the locals.
Sorry, can you repeat?
By saying that by using tourism as a platform to go to sacred sites, they are able to release stress, they are able to relieve their pressure. That is not the way that they can protect the sanctity and identity of the locals, by relieving stress at sacred sites that are centuries old.
Yes, they go to sacred sites to do something to learn something especially, and also to release stress, because when they go to sacred sites, they actually pray to the powerful gods there. Now, the closest reference to us is to our history book. We could see how clearly through facing many challenges and struggles with enemies, the Muslim in the age of Nabi Muhammad insist to visit enemies' base and are willing to fight the enemies just for the sake of relinquishing their spiritual needs. This has shown us how important it is to fulfill our spiritual need by visiting sacred sites. For my second point is that sacred sites give us the sense of calmness and tranquility. With the busyness and chaos of work, school, and family officer comes in the longing for calm. Within the walls of the temple, where we are forced to be quite still and calm, both physically and spiritually can be touched. Of course, a wise man once said, while we were in the sacred sites, I feel very close to the Heavenly Father. He also said that, I do not feel like I was on earth, I thought I was on heaven. Well, I can see that time does not suit me. I would like to show more fireballs on your government, but too bad, the time is up. With that, I rest my case.
British backpacker Eleanor Hawkins and 5 others stood naked at Mount Kinabalu, and the locals were vexed, they were pissed off, they were annoyed with what they have done. And they do believe that the earthquake which happened in Sabah was caused due to such inconsiderate actions. Good morning to everyone present in the house today. Now, let me cut to the chase and move on with the rebuttals. Now, let me begin with the POI sent upon by the first speaker of Team Opposition. He stated that we can appreciate sacred sites although we aren't locals. Yes, we do believe that although you aren't locals, you can appreciate sacred sites. But we should all know that appreciation can go both ways. If you really appreciate the sacred sites, you'd have that sense of maturity that sacred sites are important, it should be appreciated, and that by allowing tourism, you're going to damage sacred sites. The detrimental implications that are to follow wouldn't be a good trade-off just for gaining education, just for gaining knowledge more on that place. So if you really do understand the importance of sacred sites, even if you do appreciate, you would understand that tourism shouldn't be allowed in the first place. Now, rejected. Moving on to their second POI, which is that Kyoto Shrine in Japan. They brought up this one example to justify their whole case. That, say, their example was on Kyoto Shrine in Japan, that it encourages tourists due to its holy water right there. But let me tell you one thing for sure. The holy water in Kyoto Shrine is used for religious purposes. It is meant for religion. It is meant for religious practices, rituals. It wasn't built for tourism. And tourism in general, it's all about entertainment. So how can you really generalize that all sacred sites are meant for tourism just because of certain aspects of sacred sites? Now, if they are bringing up examples, if they are throwing away examples just to prove their case, we from Team Government can play the same dirty game. I can bring up another grand shrine in Japan called the Aisei Grand Shrine, where tourists are banned from entering, and there's only 3 priests which can enter, and the function of this is to preserve the sanctity of sacred sites. Now, going on with their definition of what sacred really is, they define sacred in such a way that sacred is religious and not secular. And when we question that, wouldn't by allowing tourism, we are going to encourage a sacred site from being circular, thanks to overcrowding, too much of tourists, because you lose that sense of spirituality. You you lose that why, locals will no longer feel that it is spiritual. So wouldn't it be circular? And their reply to that is that Mecca, the Kaaba, it gains a lot of people, millions of people per year, and yet it still manages to preserve its sense of spirituality. Yes, we do agree that a lot of people visit Mecca, but you all should know that a lot of people are actually pilgrims and not tourists. And do you all know something? Mecca, Kaaba, do not allow tourists to enter. So say now I'm a Hindu, and I would want to visit the Kaaba for tourism. Under the basis of tourism, I wouldn't be allowed because the Arab government has banned the Kaaba from being visited by tourists. And why is that so? Why has the Arab government thought this so thoroughly and banned tourism there? This is to preserve the sanctity, the spirituality of Kaaba for the sake of their locals and for the sake of the devotees and pilgrims. Now, moving on to the counter-rebuttals. Their rebuttal to our point about how sacred sites are really fragile is that it can be fixed. There's this new creation, it's not a new creation, there's this isotope called carbon-14 which can actually make sacred sites stay even longer. But as stated earlier in my POI, carbon-14 isn't really used to preserve the site, it isn't used to lengthen a place's time span. Instead, it's actually used for carbon dating. But even if you give it the benefit of the doubt, stating that carbon-14 is this panacea, solves everything, it allows it to stay even longer, the government needs to spend resources on carbon-14 to ensure that sacred sites can be preserved. And why is that so? They need to spend a lot of money, channel funds, on carbon-14 to preserve sites so that it can withstand the density of tourists reaching there. So it's clear that the government has to lose money in order to gain money. And I know this doesn't make sense because the government has to spend a large amount of money to gain back an unreliable, unfixed amount of money which isn't even confirmed in the first place. Yes.
The government has to gain money is one. Let's say for example, government spend 1 billion on carbon-14, but they can get maybe about 2 billion from the tourism visa.
Alright, this is an assumption. How is it even certain that you are going to gain back your revenue, you are going to gain back your model if you are going to spend on it? Sacred sites are something that is flexible. It wasn't built for tourism. Unless if the government really cares about gaining revenue for their, to increase, say, their economy, they should spend that 1 billion, say ringgit for an example, on various other, say, parks such as Legoland, Kittyland, and not messing up, not tampering with sacred sites. And yeah, regarding that, they stated that it provides a revenue, it provides financial gain for a country, it boosts their economy. So, there are many other ways for a country to boost its economy. And we do believe that sacred sites isn't the way to go. There are many more ways which are more certain, more definite, where you can have a definite revenue for yourself rather than sacred sites. Now, they have stated, the second speaker has stated that you can gain knowledge through tourism. But let me tell you this, you will gain knowledge. Yes, we do agree, you gain knowledge. But this is at the expense of damage and the risk of sacred sites losing its sense of spirituality, at the risk of sacred sites losing their originality and the locals with the locals' religious practices being disrupted. So we do believe this is not a good trade-off, that you gain knowledge by allowing tourism when there are many other detrimental implications, negative externalities to this. And if you really want to gain knowledge about a certain something, in case sacred sites, there are beneficial ways such as technology. For an example, you can gain knowledge through the internet, books, and now moving on to my final rebuttal, which is on regulations. Let's say we should all take a chill pill. There are regulations, there are rules, and tourists won't really damage a certain sacred site. But let me tell you something. Regulations are always there, despite banning or not banning sacred sites. Regulations are always there, but despite regulations, damage still occur. But if you're going to allow tourism with regulations, you're allowing a bigger space, you're giving more freedom to the people out there to damage your sacred site. And it actually increases the risk and vulnerability to do so. And finally, which I really thought was one of the best jokes in the house today, which is they put the hands, the responsibility of sacred sites under the hands of, to the hands of tourist guides. Let me tell you something. Tourist guides is just a common job. They aren't law enforcers. Tourist guide, the function of tourist guide isn't to enforce the law. All they do is bring tourists around. And in fact, tourists would want to go to sacred sites not under the basis of gaining education. It's just part of their tourist plan. They don't really care much about sacred sites. Tourist guides just bring them there and they don't really care much as long as they gain the money at the end of the day. So let me ask you something. Do you really think that by allowing tourism in sacred sites will be a good trade-off for the government when there's so much of indefinite gain and there's so much of negative externalities that is about to come? Please take. With that, I thank you.
I've been an honorable speaker, wise educators, members of the government, and not forgetting my comrades of the opposition front. The opposition rise again like a legendary phoenix to reiterate the fact that tourism should not be banned at sites considered sacred by locals. Let me remind the members of the House of our premise and stand. Our premise will be structures, places, and locations that is widely believed to have religious properties by the locals, whether they are practitioners of said religion or not. Our stand is that tourists should not be prohibited from visiting a place just because it's considered sacred by locals. Therefore, members of the House, our team has provided sufficient evidence and reasons to show that the motion today cannot stand. We loosely have shown from three aspects which are impacting the economy positively, fulfill spiritual needs, and gives us a sense of calmness and tranquility. We have clearly proven that the government is not facing reality. Let me show you how true my statement is. First and foremost, the government side did not provide any stand or premise. Therefore, I don't know what direction they are aiming. Now, okay, the first speaker from the government stated that sacred sites have value, identity. You stated that sacred sites are not meant for entertainment. Denied. Why do people visit sacred sites? This is a question we must ask ourselves. Now, he says that tourism should be banned at sacred sites because people go there for entertainment. Now, I don't know what's your definition of entertainment, but in my own words, let me repeat my own words. Entertainment is, in basics, entertain yourself, which means is to calm our mind and relax. Now, for example, we visit temples and malls just to calm our mind. Now, I don't see any reason why legal land should be compared to sacred sites. It's dependent. Yes.
Let me make something clear in the House today. Sacred sites aren't built under the motive for general people to come in and take a chill pill. They are built under the motive for locals to carry out religious practices, rituals, and many others. So technically, we are allowing the exploitation of sacred sites for the general use of public. Please clarify.
Times have changed. Centuries ago, sacred sites are there for religious practices, but today in the 21st century, we should allow sacred sites for tourists to visit just to, like what I said, to calm themselves, have tranquility. Okay. Now let me move on to the next button. The first speaker also stated that legal land should not be compared to sacred sites because it's dependent on what tourists are looking for, where they are looking for to have fun or where they are looking to calm their minds. Now, so therefore I insist that the government don't make decisions representing the tourists. Now, the first speaker also stated that tourist sites are vulnerable to flashlights, it will damage the integrity of the sacred sites. Now, they do not provide any examples of how these sites are damaged. Now, please I'm sorry, now, please explain to me that there must be some scientific explanation or evidence behind this. Now, the second speaker of the government also stated that he will question that how can you be so sure that tourists are interested to go to sacred sites now? We are talking about numbers, we are looking at numbers provided by the Ministry of Tourism. I'm sure that you are not keeping up the news, all stats provided by the government. Now, we also claim that tens of thousands disrespect the culture of the sacred sites now. We have provided examples of how tens of thousands of tourists disrespect the culture. I'm sorry, did I? The second speaker also claimed that tourism in this era encourages colonization more than education. Now, there are tour guides which are professional trained people that are actually there to provide information to the tourists, and they can tell you the stories or the mythologies behind the sacred sites. Now, the third speaker, he stated that British backpackers that street naked. He was talking about British backpackers that street naked at Mount Kinabalu, and he said that they believe that an earthquake there is caused by these people. Now, as what I mentioned just now, it's not proven by any experts or scientists around the world. I'm sorry, deny. Accept it or not, whether you accept it or not, orang asli that stays nearby, they are commuting themselves in a nutshell. They are not exposed to life outside their area. Therefore, they do not base their argument based on science and maths. Now, the third speaker also claimed that it's not certain whether the revenue will be returned or not. I'm sorry, our government in Malaysia, we have so many qualified accountants, statisticians, and actuaries that calculate the risk before our government invests in something. I'm sorry, deny. Now, such despicable statements made by the government, I'm sure that members of the House do not believe them. Therefore, members of the respected House, we have proved beyond a reason of doubt that today's motion cannot stand. We have rebutted, refuted, and rejected all 3 points raised by the government. And based on our definition, stand, and premise that we will not challenge, we have provided a strong case immovable as the rock of Gibraltar, and so it's only right that you vote in our favour. The opposition in all earnestness rejects this motion. Tourism should not be banned at sites considered sacred by locals. With that, the opposition rests its case.